Hi there, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman in the business today, Sonny Hersh, and your host, Avi Meyers.
Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Welcome, and thank you, Marty. Don't forget that we've got lots of action-packed shows coming up for you over time. Besides for this week's guest, next week we're looking forward to Secretary of State Jesse White, followed by the Deep Tunnel show, which is our most popular show of all time. We tinkered it with it a little bit. We're re-airing it. And the Barbershop show, of course, with Marty Levinson. And thank you, Marty, as usual. I want to say thanks to my entire technical crew, Sonny Hersh, as well as his whole family. Hi, Marlene. Hi, Jamie. And, of course, hi to Edmund. And I want to remind you, he maintains both our websites. Well, the first website is ntnm.org, where you can watch our shows on YouTube. And at this point, over 22,000 shows have been watched, which is just amazing, and it might even be 23 by now. The numbers are just climbing at really great rates, and thank you so much for tuning in. There's also caps24.org, where you get all the information about community policing throughout the area. And at this point, I'd like to introduce you, and speaking of the web, to somebody who's actually got one of our most watched shows and seems to be a very popular person on the web anyway. I always wondered if it's this guy we were talking about prior who's always on these blogs who's clicking on you 57 times. But anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce the Alderman of the 49th Ward, our next-door neighbor in Rogers Park, Alderman Joe Moore. How are you?
Avi, great to be here. How are you doing?
First of all, real good, and thank you so much for coming. Just to refresh people every once in a while, what are the boundaries of the 49th Ward?
Well, we're in the northeast corner of the city. Lake Michigan is my eastern boundary. Evanston is my northern boundary. North of Toohey, I go to western. South of Toohey, Ridge Avenue is my western boundary. And then I go as far south as Granville on the south. The boundary zigs and zags on the southern border.
So you've got Rogers Park, a little bit of Edgewater, and a little bit of West Rogers Park.
About 80% of the East Rogers Park community, a few blocks in Edgewater, and a few blocks in the West Ridge community.
Interesting. So how would you describe the crowd there?
The crowd?
I mean, your populace. I mean, is there any way... It's very diverse, that's for sure.
Incredibly diverse. We have 50 languages spoken in our community. We have people from literally every walk of life. I remember a few election days ago, I ran into a person who was a Jewish Alaskan Eskimo.
Well, really?
That's right.
That's a new one on me.
Yeah, it was a new one on me too. But the Jewish Alaskan Eskimos I represented in my community. We've got folks from Somalia and from Brazil and Russia and every corner of the world.
And it's actually reflected in the restaurants and in a lot of the community.
Yeah, it makes it's an exciting, dynamic neighborhood. It makes it a challenge sometimes to govern, but it's a challenge I welcome, to try to bring people together, people from different backgrounds, different ethnic groups, different perspectives, but bringing them together around common goals of improving a neighborhood and showing the rest of the city of Chicago, and indeed the rest of the nation, that a diverse urban community can grow and thrive and be a desirable place to live and to raise your family.
No, absolutely. Now, the average ward in Chicago's population is probably a little under 60,000. Is that how it works?
Just right around 60,000. Each ward, according to law, has to be about roughly equal in population, and that's why every 10 years we have a remap where we redraw the ward boundaries to ensure that each person is represented equally in the Chicago City Council.
Now, the boundaries keep changing. I mean, you go a little bit further west sometimes, or, I don't know how the north and south works, but is your neighborhood getting more dense? Is it getting...
Well, since I became alderman in 1991, our neighborhood has grown in population, and as a result, the area of the ward has shrunk somewhat, to ensure that we still have the 60,000 people in the ward.
Yeah, I seem to remember you used to go further south.
Yes, when I first became alderman, it went down as far south as Thorndale. Now my southern boundary is Granville, and I go as far north as Pratt Boulevard being my southern boundary between the L tracks and Ashland Avenue.
Interesting. So that now there's been a lot of construction. I mean, before the building pretty much halted. You were definitely the beneficiary of a lot of...
We had a lot of economic development. That certainly brought with it some welcome improvements to the neighborhood, but also a number of challenges, because one of the things that I'm committed to, Avi, is maintaining our diversity, making sure that Rogers Park is home not only to people who can afford $400,000 condominiums, but also people who are barely making ends meet. I think in order for us as a society to be successful, we need to be able to learn how to live together and work together, and we can't have communities where one group is being pushed out at the expense of another group. And what we've tried to do is to build an economically diverse community, so that while we do have some high-end income housing, we also have affordable housing for seniors who have lived in the community and now are on a fixed income and still want to live in the neighborhood. We have affordable housing for families, for married couples just starting out in life, being able to afford a low-priced condominium so that they can get that, own their own home and achieve a piece of the American dream. Those are sort of the things that, as alderman, I've been working on to channel the economic development to make sure it benefits the people who live here now, who live in the 49th Ward now, and so that people, anyone who wants to live in the 49th Ward in the Rogers Park community should be able to do so and shouldn't be forced to move out because of economic forces.
Now, you've got a well, at least in the blogs, they're very vocal, although not always sane.
Well,
it depends who.
We have.
I don't want to get you in too much trouble.
We have a very, very active and engaged community, and people express themselves through the neighborhood blogs, through community meetings. It's one of the reasons, Avi, I have a very transparent process for making zoning decisions. No zoning decision is made without fully airing it in public. First of all, I have a zoning advisory committee, a committee that consists of neighborhood leaders, people from representatives from the major community organizations, neighborhood residents, and business people who come together and advise me on any zoning or land use issue that comes before me. And in addition, if there's any zoning change at all, we have a community meeting where we invite the community members to attend the meeting and have a member of the person, the developer, or whoever wants the zoning change, present their plans to the community at large, respond to their questions. I take in the comments that people have, the opinions they have, and sometimes we have several community meetings. As each meeting, we revise a project a little bit to meet the concerns and desires of the community. And no project is supported by me that doesn't also enjoy the support of a substantial portion of the people who live in the neighborhood.
You just reminded me I need to update my email with you, because I used to get regular notices from you about all these things. It was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And you're not getting them anymore?
No, I'm not, but that's not your fault. I didn't have enough. For a while, all the emails were bouncing back because my thing got overfull.
Oh, yes. That's happened to me sometimes, too. Well, Avi, if you want to, or anyone else who's watching the show wants to get on my email list to get news about community events, upcoming meetings, just general news about what's going on in the neighborhood, all you have to do is go to my website, ward49.com. That's my ward, the 49th Ward, ward49.com, and there's a place where you can sign up to get my my emails, or just contact my office and with your email address, and we'll put it on the air.
And by the way, I've always found it very.
We won't put your email address on the air. We'll put it on our email list.
On your list, and I've always found it very informational, and it sort of gives me a head start and a quick look at what's doing, and gives me a perspective. But yeah,
well, it's all about the transparent way I try to conduct myself, and I've gotten a lot of very positive feedback on the emails that I send out, and I think one justifiable criticism that folks had about me in the past is that we weren't doing a good enough job letting people know what we were doing. Yeah. There wasn't enough communication with my constituents, and I've worked really hard to try to change that. We were so busy doing the things, and we weren't busy telling people what we were doing, and now we are doing that, and now we are making sure that people know that they can be involved in any aspect of decision-making in the 49th Ward, including the all-important zoning power that aldermen in the city of Chicago possess.
Now, let me ask you, because I've never actually, even though I've read about the meetings, what kind of attendance do you get when you have a zoning meeting? I imagine it varies, but
it really varies on the nature of the issue. We've had meetings with just a small handful of people showing up, and sometimes we've had development issues that have generated a lot of interest, and we have literally hundreds of people jammed into a room to hear a presentation from a developer. And that's the kind of thing I welcome. I love the give and take. I think ultimately what happens is we come up with a better product for the community. The larger the development, the more significant impact it has on the community, the more input and more engagement from the community that we have.
Now, the real estate market being what it is, which is not a really good thing right now, and I'm really glad I don't have to worry about any of that stuff myself, but what kind of effect is that having? Are people who are building things in having problems? Or
I think as long as it's just a temporary downturn, from the vantage point of my community, it's a good thing. It gives us a chance to take a breath, canvass what we've had in the neighborhood. Right now, I think we just came through about 10 years of redevelopment of our residential streets, and we've turned around a lot of bad buildings, and good owners have come and turned those buildings into good rental buildings or condominiums. But what I'd like to turn our attention to now is to help encourage some of that development on our commercial streets, Morse Avenue, Clark Street, Howard Street, and we're seeing some of that already. Morse Avenue alone, we've got we have a couple of really interesting developments where, for example, on the 1400 block of Morse, we have a new building that had replaced a bar that had on and off again caused some problems for Morse Avenue. We have an investment group that just purchased probably the worst building in Morse Avenue, if not the neighborhood, on the northeast corner of Morse and Glenwood. That building has been emptied out, and it's going to be rehabbed and maintained as rental housing. But what the previous owners were not able to do was to manage the building well, and a lot of our crime and social disorder problems that occurred on and around Morse generated from that building. Now that that building is cleared out, the problems on Morse have reduced themselves tremendously. In fact, I'm really happy to report that last year alone, the 24th District, which includes the 49th Ward, you probably know this since you're active in CAPS, enjoyed over a 13% decrease in crime, which made that the sharpest decrease in crime of any of the police districts in the city of Chicago. So I think it's owing to the good work of people like you and others on the CAPS, and to all the improvements that we're beginning to enjoy in the neighborhood.
Well, first of all, thank you. And as long as we're doing, Sonny Hersh, who's behind the camera, who you don't get to see, is, of course, the chairman of the 24th District Advisory Committee.
That's right. Sonny's been wonderful and has played a key role in the improvements that we've seen in the 24th District.
Yeah, and also I want to give a shout out to Commander...
Do you ever interview Sonny?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you know what? I'll send you the link.
Because if you want, I can work behind the cameras, and you can have him on here sometime.
You know what? I'm going to take you up on that next time.
No, seriously.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
You should know that in the past, my cameraman's been Larry Sufferton when I needed an extra one.
Is that right? Well, he's a great commissioner, and I bet he's a great cameraman, too.
And no, he's really good at it. There's no question about it, and I think he would have made a hell of a state's attorney.
I think he would have, too. I was disappointed that he didn't get elected state's attorney, but I'm also gratified on behalf of my community that he continues to be our Cook County commissioner, because he does a great job down on the county board and holding the county board president and his colleagues on the county board accountable to the taxpayers. Which
needs to be done. As a matter of fact, we're looking at a new health care facility in the 49th Ward.
We are indeed. In fact, I was just at the ribbon cutting this week. We have a new health care center at Bell and Toohey in the 49th Ward. Our community is one of the most medically underserved communities in the city. The federal government says that defines a medically underserved community as any community that has less than one medical center or health facility per 3,500 residents. Rogers Park, there's less than one medical center for every 7,300 residents. Actually, but that will change, because we have a new medical center that has just opened. It is state of the art. It is bright. It's clean, and anyone, regardless of their economic circumstances, can receive quality health care there.
Right. No, that's
if you have insurance, you can go there. If you don't have insurance, you can go there and you pay according to your ability to pay. And that'll really help my neighborhood, where we have a lot of people who don't have health insurance, don't have a lot of money in their pocket, and yet have chronically critical medical conditions. And we can get those folks in there, because right now a lot of people go to the county hospital and they wait a long time. So by the time they go to county hospital to get their medical care, the make them well costs a lot more. What this medical center is all about is preventive care, making sure that people take care of any ailments they have, any medical conditions they might have early on, and to not have the emergency room at Cook County Hospital, at Stroger Hospital, be essentially a medical clinic, which in many ways it has become. We're going to continue to try to get more medical centers in the community. One thing that myself and our committeeman, David Fagus, who is an official with county government in the healthcare field, is we're working very hard to try to get a new Cook County medical clinic in the 49th Ward. Because even with the new clinic open at Toohey and Bell, a clinic by Heartland Alliance, they're the organization that's operating it, we still have a lot of unmet needs in our community. And we want Rogers Park not only to be exciting, diverse community to live in, but we want it to be a healthy community to live in as well.
Doctors do help. That's I know that's something that Larry Sufferton was talking about quite a bit. Let's talk about, you want to talk, what was your take on the election? I mean, you weren't up for election, which was probably really good.
No, I was reelected last April, and it was nice to get through an election without being a candidate, and instead helping some of the other good candidates that were on the ballot. I was very, very happy that a very fine woman, Heather Staines, has just been elected to the Illinois State Senate. State Senator Carol Ronan, as you know, announced her resignation last fall, and there was 2 years remaining on her term. And Heather Staines was one of the fine candidates who ran for that position and won handily. And I look forward to working with her. We had some disappointments on the county-wide level. We mentioned Larry Sufferton, a fine man running for Cook County State's Attorney. He came up a little bit short, but maybe next time there's a vacancy there, he can run for it. The good news is, in the meantime, he's going to continue to represent us on the county board.
He's a good man. That's good from that standpoint, no question. What is Senator Ronan doing now?
I don't know what she's planning on doing. I don't know if she's made a decision exactly what she's doing, but I think she felt she had been on the state senator for, she got elected in 1992, so it's been about 16 years, and I think she felt it was time for some new challenges. She continues to serve as the 48th Ward committeeman. She's also on the Democratic National Committee. She's one of those superdelegates that we've been reading a lot about lately, who will be making a decision on who the next Democratic nominee for president is.
Yeah, every time I see superdelegate, I think of comic book stuff.
Yeah. There's one exciting initiative I do want to talk to you about, and the folks who are listening on the show. It is our green initiative that we're doing in the 49th Ward. We want the 49th Ward to be the most environmentally sustainable community in the nation. There's a lot of justifiable concern about global warming, and people wondering, well, what can I do? What can I do to help make the Earth more healthy and to address issues like global warming? Well, the whole phrase, think globally, act locally, comes into play here. And we're having a series of workshops every Monday night at 6:30 p.m. at the Loyola Park Fieldhouse, which is located on Greenleaf Avenue, 1230 West Greenleaf. It's the Fieldhouse that's located on Greenleaf, 2 blocks south of Toohey, right along the lake. And every week we're going to have a different workshop about a different aspect about how people can be more environmentally conscious. One workshop's going to be, how do you make your home more energy efficient? Another workshop will be telling people how to compost. You can compost without having a backyard. You can do it even if you're living in an apartment.
Well, actually, I have a home and I have a compost pile out back, but
Yeah,
I'm not going to show you in February.
But you can also do that inside your apartment too, and do it in a way that doesn't cause any undue odors or anything. That's something else. Green parenting: how to raise a child to be in a more environmentally sound fashion. So you go to my website, ward49.com. You click on the green link, and then it'll give you a whole list of the agenda of the workshops that have already gone underway and be going until the end of March. One of the things we've done is we've organized a Green Corps, which are neighborhood residents and volunteers who are interested in doing environmental projects and green projects in our community. Just recently, they went to the Gateway Senior Building, which is one of our buildings where senior citizens live in the neighborhood over by the Gateway Shopping Center. And they provided the seniors with energy-efficient light bulbs and helped the seniors literally install those light bulbs.
Nice.
So not only did it do a good thing for the environment by installing bulbs that are more energy efficient and use less energy, but it also benefited the senior citizens because it saved them money on their utility bill. And most of those seniors that live in the building live on a fixed income, and they could save a few dollars on their energy bill. So those are some of the things that we're working on right now to make the 49th Ward the most green community in the entire nation.
My bills went down about $9 a month, except for like this particular chandelier overhead, but it's not,
Are you using
it's
the
not a
energy?
timer.
Are you using
But
energy
yeah, if you
efficient
take a
bulbs?
look at everything else, I've got the screw-in fluorescents, and basically what was a 60-watt bulb has 13 watts, what's a 100-watt bulb has 23 watts. My bill not only went down, but these bulbs are, I mean, I've had them over 2 years already, so...
Well, the great thing is you never have to change them, or almost never, once every 7 years, certainly not as frequently as the regular incandescent lights, and you save money on your electric bill.
No, I'm down about $9 a month, and it really pays.
It adds up.
The only thing is if anybody's got a timer or a dimmer, it's got to be a mechanical timer, not an electric. I found out the hard way about that.
Yeah, I found out the hard way myself too when we did that. So you have to make those kind of concessions, but by and large, it's been a good thing. And we actually we are giving away energy efficient light bulbs in our office. So
I'll be over there.
Come on over. 7356 North Greenview and Jarvis.
They're
come
really
get
worth
your
getting
come
people.
get your package of light bulbs and try them out. You'll find that they work really well, and you'll see the benefits of it in your light bill.
As a matter of fact, the light in the next room, as a matter of fact, where we're fortunate to have Secretary of State Jesse White, who will be on next week's show, is being lit strictly by those bulbs.
Well, that's great, and it's a credit to you, Avi, that you has some of the leading public servants in Illinois, like Secretary of State White, who appear on your show and tell you what they've been working on and be accountable to the voters. And you have you've had some great guests, and I look forward to the show with Secretary White because he's been a fine public servant for many, many years in this state.
Yeah, well, I've tried to make a habit over the years to try to get the good guys on, and there aren't, as you know, there aren't that many really good guys in politics. But if you could ever define anybody in the state of Illinois as a good guy, Secretary of State White certainly is.
That's right. Absolutely.
And I mean, just a role model and an incredible person, and it's always an honor to have him on. And as a matter of fact, the only thing I ever question is how come he comes on the show.
Well, cable access is one of the ways that we bring people closer to their elected officials. I love CNN and MSNBC and all those, but the bottom line is the People's Network is CAN TV. It's cable access. That's where average workaday folks can go on, produce their own show, and have people like me and Secretary White and other folks on to ask questions and to be accountable to the voters.
And as a matter of fact, I've seen you certainly down more than one time down over at CAN TV, and which reminds me, there were a couple of people who do watch the show I wanted to say hi to. And I hope I'm not getting your name wrong, but Roy Johnson, thank you so much for your comments by Boone School, who watches the show on a regular basis. I also want to say hi to Karen and Pete Weber. Karen in particular watches, and she just makes Pete watch, but I do appreciate that very much, guys. And so let's. Any plans for what's coming up over the next whatever?
Well, I have mentioned the Green Corps. That
you know what? I wanted to ask you more about the Green. Are people, whatever few people might still be building, or the buildings that have come in over the last 2 or 3 years?
Well,
are people?
One of the things that we're doing right now is we have a committee of architects and other experts who are working on some green standards that we'll begin to apply to some of the developments in our neighborhood to ensure that the buildings are more energy efficient and fit in with our framework for the neighborhood, which is trying to make our neighborhood the most environmentally sustainable neighborhood in the country. So we're going to come up with some green guidelines that we will use when we're analyzing any new development that needs a zoning change in the community. So that's very exciting. And we've got, speaking of developments, we've got a lot of things, going on right now that are really exciting. Our community center at Howard Street at Gale School will be opening up in March. And that's been a project that's been a long time coming. It's got a green roof. It's got some other features that will lower the energy costs of that building. Our new fire station is underway, is being constructed right now on Clark Street across from Toohey Park, just north of Toohey Avenue. We've got the L station that the CTA is putting the finishing touches on and should be open and ready for commuters a year from now up at Howard Street. We've got a new streetscape project that's occurring on Morse Avenue that will involve new street lights and improvements, much like what they did on Bryn Mawr Avenue in Edgewater. So there are a tremendous amount of things going on right now. Despite the economic slowdown, things are very much alive in Rogers Park and Edgewater, and it's been great to be a part of it.
I think overall you're doing a terrific job. By the way, I'll be on that Howard L station later on my way back from Can TV when I edit the shows tonight.
Very good.
Yeah, I can get my shopping done at Gateway over there too. Now that I don't have a dime.
Well, I certainly appreciate you spending your dollars in the 49th Ward.
Well, I do try to do it in the city of Chicago because I strongly believe that we ought to be supporting the tax base of our own city. So I'm not necessarily going to peek across to the border, because there's a 0.25% difference in the sales tax, because getting the CTA running is probably a really good thing. And by the way, I did try, just for those of you at home, I did try to get Julie Hamos here today, the state representative who did so much with the CTA. But unfortunately, today is also the first day of the session in Springfield, and she actually insisted on being a good state representative and representing her people down there in Springfield.
Well, she's one of the best, and I'm proud to have her as my state representative. And she's done a great job, and her legacy is public transit. And not only keeping the trains running, keeping the buses running, but making sure that they have a good, solid base of financial support so we don't have these crises every year. Now the next challenge with the CTA, as you know, Avi, is the capital side. The buses are in dire need of repair. The trains are in dire need of repair. The tracks are in horrible shape. That's why you have all these slow zones now. And there's been far too much neglect for far too long. And so now Julie Hamos and other legislators in Springfield, working with the city council, are trying to fashion a plan to provide some long-term relief to provide more capital dollars so that not only do the trains run on time, but they run efficiently and they run and that they're reliable as well.
You have to be careful about the on-time thing, because I remember a guy named Mussolini who that was one.
Yeah. But well, I think you can have good government and have the trains run on time.
I think so too. Anyway, we're almost completely out of time here, so why don't you give people your contact information?
Well, once again, you can reach me through my web address, ward49.com, or through email at ward49@cityofchicago.org. And of course, if you feel like it, you can always just pick up the phone and call the old-fashioned way. And our phone number is 773-338-5796.
Well, thank you very much, Alderman Joe Moore. Thank you, entire technical crew, Sonny Hersh.
Thank you.
Stay tuned next week for Secretary of State Jesse White. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.